Hey friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. Yes, I am sitting today because we are about ready to get super messy. I'm so excited. Artistry just came out with these brand new acrylic sublimation paints. You heard that right, sublimation paint. So if you have been wanting to try sublimation, but you don't want to buy a printer and then convert the printer and then only have that printer for sublimation prints, you can now make your own with the sublimation paint, and they also have stamp pads coming out too. So I'm so excited. Today, this is what I'm going to be demoing is the sublimation ink paint stuff. I am going to be making a dog bandana for my dog. So for this project, I will be doing a tie-dye pattern for this using only the paints. You're going to need just some printer paper. This is just a roll of craft paper that I stole from my kids' easel. If you are doing a bandana, what you're going to want to do is have your piece of paper, whatever paper you decide, needs to be big enough to do the entire bandana. Now, you could do like separate sheets of paper and tape them together and, you know, kind of put them together, but you might have a seam, and I'm trying to avoid having the seam. So I have this paper and I'm going to cut it to make sure that it's big enough to fit the entire bandana. Because I'm doing a tie-dye pattern, just have a little bit of saran wrap from my kitchen, and then in order to put your sublimation print that you're going to make onto the bandana, you do need a heat press. Today I'm going to be using my Easy Press. Just this thing. I'm using this today versus my heat press just to show you that you could do this anywhere and you don't need a gigantic heat press to do this. Perfect craft for kids as well. I think like an outdoor activity where you're outdoors and you're just hanging out outside because crafts that are messy in my house, we always wait for a nice bright warm sunny day and we go outside because I don't like to clean up the mess inside my house. Well, okay, the coolest thing about this acrylic paint, the one that it comes with, has red, blue, yellow, black, and white. So not a whole lot of colors. But the coolest thing about this is that you can make and mix all of your colors. Artistry, they already just gave us a huge color chart of like ratios and stuff to make your own. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, that's it. I think that's it. And let's get started. I'm so excited about this. Very first thing that you're going to want to do is get your substrate, whatever that you're using for this project. And then you're going to take that piece of paper. We're going to cut it to about roughly the size that it needs to be. I am going to cut it a little bit longer because I do want an overhang, and that just makes sure that we're not going to have any white places left over. Okay, I'm going to turn this like this. All right. With a pen, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I do like, especially with tie-dye, you're going to want to kind of know where the pattern is going to go, the main circle part. I don't want it off right here because you'll never get that, right? So I'm going to just take a little pen, and this pen, because it's not sublimation, it won't transfer to your substrate. So we're just going to do that. Now everything that's on the outside of this line, there will be no tie-dye colors picked up. I will trim it later, but I'm going to keep it like this, just like this. Then when you put your tie-dye paints, you're going to want to keep your focus in the inside of your rectangle. This is not a rectangle, it's a triangle. And then before we prep it, we're going to tape it down and prep it all up. But at least I know my main focus of the paint is going to be inside this triangle. Holy cannoli. That almost was impossible to cut, my goodness. All right, we're going to mix some colors up. You know, the hardest part about picking colors is that I love all colors, so I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is, for my tie-dye for my dog, I'm going to do the sea glass and okay, we'll do sea glass and blue. So I don't have to mix the blue because it's already right here. So the sea glass, you're going to need yellow, blue, and a little bit of white. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do, to do emerald, you need a little bit of yellow with a lot of bit of blue, 1 to 5. And then you're going to want just some white. And I have my paintbrush and I'm just going to mix this around. We're just creating our own custom ink. Now, sublimation ink is always a different color. It will brighten up after you press it. If you have a sublimation printer, you know that your prints always come out kind of dull when you print them, but then after you press them, all the colors are just so much more vibrant. All right, there we go. I don't know what this color is going to look like when it's all finished, but hopefully it looks really good. I think I've decided what I'm going to do is because the blue, depending on how this ends up turning out, it'll look really similar to this blue, and I'm afraid that that will not make a good tie-dye. So I think what I'm going to do is do red. And so this is, because it's like my dog's summer bandana, it should be like a red, white, and blue theme. I don't know. We shall see. Okay, I'm going to slide this over. Now, when it comes to tie-dyeing, you're wanting to make a swirl. I've decided I'm using red, and for this project, you're going to want to do heavy on the ink because we're going to use this to make the tie-dye swirl. So I'm going to start right here because I want the tie-dye to be like the center of it to be see how I'm just going into a circle. Oops. And pay attention to where you are. Oh, let me move this. You don't want to waste a ton of ink. So we're trying to stay inside of that triangle. There's that. Do that. And now taking your paintbrush and doing the same thing like you did with the red. Okay, now with this still wet, because you want to work with this when it's still wet, we're going to take some more saran wrap. We're going to do it about, oops, you know what? I missed a whole bunch of paint right here at this very tip. My paint is already drying. That's why you want to do like a big globs so it doesn't dry too quick. Okay, I'm going to lay this on top and rip off. Okay, now using your finger, just kind of smushing it around. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay, before this dries, you're going to want to take off the plastic. Oh. And we're just going to bunch that up because we don't need that anymore. Or that. Put that in the water. Okay, so all of this is now garbage, and now you're left with this. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's wet paint. What you want to do is let this dry entirely before we move on to pressing it onto your substrate. I had a crafting fail. There is one thing that you should know about me is I have zero patience. So when things take time to dry, I don't wait for them, and I now have a ruined bandana and a brand new print that I've already created. So the original one that I did with this, I've shown you how to do this, and I did not wait for it to dry all the way. And you can see that the paint is on here, crusty, and it did not dry. The other thing too is I did not press this at the correct press setting. So you can see how it's really dark in certain areas, really light in others. It's because I did not press it long enough in these areas. So we're throwing this away. I have a whole new print, same type of setup that I did originally for the first time. This is what we're gonna do for the second one. I have a brand new bandana. Now all I'm going to do is iron out the wrinkles for this. I'm just gonna use my heat press for this and just use it like an iron. I absolutely love using my heat press as an iron. I actually use it often as an iron because it is so big and it's super easy. Here is the ironed bandana. On this particular substrate, there is like a softer side and then the other side is kind of, it feels like silk. I would suggest that being the back. So I always put the soft side down to the print. I made sure I did this the night before, let it dry completely. So it is totally dry. Then I'm just gonna take some heat resistant tape and I'm gonna tape down the bandana so it doesn't go sliding around as I'm taking the heat press to it. When you have that finished, just take more of the paper that you used originally. The only reason why you're doing this is to protect your heat press mats. And just trim. Away the excess. Okay, you're done with that paper. When you sublimate, it's always the print side up. So here is my print and it's the side up. The side is up, and then I have, you created like a sandwich essentially. You have the print bandana and then that small white, that plain white paper. See how it's the print, the bandana, and that plain white paper. I'm gonna take my pressing mats. You can tell where some of the original ink was on my mat instead of on my paper. So now it is ruined. Okay, I have my heat press now set at 375 for 45 seconds. I'm just gonna start at the corner and work my way through the handkerchief. Now that you've gotten it all ironed on, especially when it comes to sublimation, just start very carefully and peeling off the pattern. If you notice that it didn't go to your substrate very well, then you can stop what you're doing, lay the pattern back down and repress in that area. You can tell when I was pressing this originally that I was peeking at it and then I was going back over places I've already been to. That's because there was certain areas that just got missed just a little bit. But it's looking really, really good. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at how beautiful this is. I love it. Everything about this I love so much. It looks so much better than the mess up one that I ended up having to throw away. Now, if you wanted to, you could do the back side of this. You would just need another print to do the inside of this, but it's going on my dog and the inside portion is going to be laying on top of him. So we won't have any worries about seeing that other side, but look at that. How stinking cool, and it's tie-dye. So this is machine washable. So now that you have it on here, you can just toss this into the machine. You won't have any bleeding, but wow, look at how vibrant those colors are. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this and that you get to make your own super cool dog bandanas with tie-dye. Okay, I will talk to you later.